Welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano. Today, newly appointed president of the South Shore Chamber of Commerce, Tim Cahill, joining us for an update. First, though, we take a look at the weather and the news for you. Currently in Quincy, it's cloudy, but it's 58 degrees and climbing. We'll have temperatures in the mid, maybe upper 60s this afternoon. The winds will be picking up. Rain will move in this evening. It could be heavy at times, could even be a rumble of thunder tonight, with lows dropping off into the mid 40s. And we welcome April tomorrow with a little bit of sunshine and some clouds, and a high tomorrow in the low 50s, turning unsettled again Tuesday into Wednesday with increasing cloudiness Wednesday, cooler. Highs Wednesday only into the mid 40s. Looks like some more rain Wednesday night into Thursday. The rain should taper off later in the day on Thursday, and the temperature goes back up again. The high around 60 degrees. It'll be mild on Friday as well, with temperatures in the mid 60s. Again, it's a cloudy 58 in Quincy right now. Checking out the news for you today, the new Quincy Animal Shelter up on Quarry Street will become active today. Now, President Sandra Sines says the shelter is relocating from their temporary home on East Squantum Street to this new Quincy Animal Care Center, right across from the dog park off of Quarry Street. Now, the new $28 million center will also be home to the Quincy Animal Control Office and the Quincy Police Canine Unit. The new facility will offer expanded adoption hours, a public meeting space, a dedicated veterinarian treatment area, and a dedicated area for cats. A sign says the shelter will have a soft opening sometime in April and then a more formal opening later this year. The City of Quincy has completed a plan to manage and improve the city's open spaces for the next 7 years. During a recent presentation to the City Council, Commissioner of Natural Resources Dave Murphy and environmental scientist Heather Liss detailed the plan. It includes past projects such as improvements to Marymount Park and the Furnace Brook Golf Course, to upcoming projects such as expanding Veterans Memorial Stadium and buying half an acre of land off of South Street in Quincy Point to create a new Cleverly Court Park with some soccer fields. Quincy City Council President Ian Kane said he was impressed with the presentation.
But it just, categorizes what open space is and what the intentions are for some of these projects, obviously, in order for people to, some of the things that were just highlighted: promote healthy lifestyles, improve air quality, create habitat for wildlife, provide flood protection, restore soil, stabilize neighborhoods, promote social interaction, increase access to healthy food, and capture and clean stormwater. So it's pretty cool. I just know how passionate both the commissioner and Heather are about their work, which is great. That's exactly what type of people you want responsible for advancing this. I know that there had been considerable public input on the work that went into this. And so, that's also appreciated.
The open space plan now requires approval from the Metropolitan Area Planning Council and then the state. Beginning today, National Grid will begin rebuilding Newport Avenue after recently completing the North Quincy Cable Replacement Project. Starting at Furnace Brook Parkway and heading north, the roadway will be repaved and sidewalks will be rebuilt. Phase 1 will rebuild Newport Avenue up to Cedar Street. And at the same time, National Grid's also rebuilding Furnace Brook Parkway between Armory Street and Newport Avenue. That work's taking place weekdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. right through May 25th. Eventually, all of Newport Avenue, plus a portion of Furnace Brook Parkway and Southern Artery, will be rebuilt by National Grid after they spent the past 3 years replacing a major underground power cable that runs under those roadways from North Quincy to the Field Street substation. Well, a historic house in West Quincy made of Quincy granite may be spared from the wrecking ball. Quincy Mayor Thomas Koch says that he is working with the owner of 92 Willard Street to save this house and move it to the Quincy Quarry and Granite Workers Museum location off of Raschuti Drive. Greg McDonald, who owns the Common Market restaurant across the street, wants to remove this house and put up a 58-unit apartment complex. Residents at a recent public hearing were upset about losing a piece of Quincy granite history. The home was built of full-sized Quincy granite blocks back in the 1830s. It is on the National Register of Historic Places. Koch says McDonald has agreed to give the house to the city, and the mayor says he may tap into community preservation funds to move it to the museum site and then rehab it for museum exhibits. Well, Quincy-based Montilio's Bakery is celebrating 76 years in business and was recently inducted into the Quincy Chamber of Commerce Business Hall of Fame at their annual business showcase and expo held up at Granite Links here in Quincy. George Montilio said that his father started the business in the basement of his father's pizza shop in Quincy Center.
And my grandfather says, well, you can come up, and he says, you can use the basement of my pizzeria and you can start the bakery. And he did. I have pictures of him in the oven, downstairs with the ovens, the mixers, and I was a little kid back then, like 4 or 5. And it was just amazing how hard he worked. And back in those days, sugar came in flour in 100-pound bags. Had to get down a set of stairs. The set of stairs weren't 3 feet wide. Everything had to go down and up those stairs. And he actually overcame the pizzeria, and it became the bakery on the corner of Chestnut and Foster Street. So that was the beginning of the company, and all that hard work and sacrifices made my grandfather Joseph, and his wife Adele, and my father Ernest, and my mother Carolyn started. They were the ground of starting this company where we are today, and that was the hard blood, sweat, and tears that you think of, you read about, but that's how it started.
Montilio said his twin daughters, his sister, and his wife now handle the day-to-day operations along with a dedicated group of employees. Montilio's now has 6 locations in Quincy, Braintree, Weymouth, Hanover, Avon, and Brockton, and has expanded to include a deli and pizza too. It's our check of news for you today. Coming up, South Shore Chamber of Commerce President Tim Cahill is joining us to talk about his new role there. That's next. Welcome back. Our guest today is a very familiar face and name in a brand new role. Please welcome Tim Cahill, now president of the South Shore Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. It's nice to be back in Quincy.
Yes.
During the day. I'm here at nights. And,
exactly.
I hope I'm already thinking I'm going to mess it up probably once or twice and say Quincy instead of South Shore.
Probably.
But, it's what happens. I mean, I was there in Quincy for 6.5 years.
Yeah.
I've been at the South Shore Chamber now for 3 months.
When did you find out that that was going to be your new role?
Not officially till about the week before Christmas.
Oh, really?
So it was a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Not ideal, but it's change is good.
Was it something you've been working on? Is something you were?
Well, it's something I was interested in.
You were?
It was interesting, but the process really was playing out during the holidays between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So not ideal, but
here we
was
are.
it my call?
Yeah. Why did it interest you?
I love the chamber business model, helping businesses, trying to bring people together and accomplishing things that the private sector and government really things that fall through the cracks oftentimes. They're businesses that do well but can do better. So it's almost like having a child in school that's good, does what he's supposed to do, or she what's supposed to do. You often get credit, you get attention if you're a superstar, you get attention if you're, underachieving.
Need some help,
and those folks in the middle they just go.
Okay.
And I think, in a sense, that's what we're there for the business community, to bring the bigger and the smaller ones together. And South Shore just is a bigger footprint. And I love challenges, so even at this stage of my life, it's fun to do new things in new territories. Obviously, Quincy's part of the South Shore.
South Shore Chamber has its roots in Quincy.
Absolutely.
It started over in the mansion on Miller Style Road, right?
125 years ago.
Yeah.
We'll be celebrating 125th anniversary next year.
Wow, okay.
Started in Quincy by one of the Adamses, believe it or not, a businessman of the Adams family. It's a Quincy Board of Trade, and then it grew as the South Shore grew,
Yeah.
and it became the Quincy South Shore Chamber at one
Right.
point, and then eventually, I think it was in the 60s, Quincy got dropped from the name. Became the South Shore Chamber, very, very successful. And then in 2009, Quincy decided to set up its own chamber, which worked out well for me.
Yes, yeah.
And I think for the businesses, I mean,
Yeah.
as Quincy has grown, I think it deserves its own chamber,
Right.
much like Plymouth down south.
Yes, yeah.
But the territory starts at the Neponset River and goes down to the canal.
Is that right?
So it includes 25 communities. So I can still work with Quincy businesses if they're part of our chamber, if they want to be part of
I
our
would think
chamber.
there are dual memberships, right?
There are.
Yeah, businesses
There
in
are,
both Quincy and
and
South Shore.
we've got a number of affiliate chambers like Weymouth and
I
Braintree
see.
and Marshfield, Hanover, that are part of our chamber but have their own sort of volunteer boards and
Gotcha.
volunteer officials and stuff. So that's a great model. And like I said, the challenge is bigger.
How many in the South Shore Chamber? How many members?
We have I think about 1,200.
1,200, okay.
So-
So it's more than double the Quincy.
Yeah, it's more than double. And many of those are part of just the chamber, and some are part of, have dual memberships
Sure.
as part of both.
Sure.
But it's the territory that really interests me because the South Shore is growing. There's a lot of needs on the South Shore, and trying to stitch together communities from Plymouth to Quincy is a challenge that I've kind of jumped into wholeheartedly and believe in.
Quincy
And
College has done it pretty successfully for a while now, right?
Quincy College has
Yeah.
done it successfully. We've got Bridgewater State University
Another
down
good
there.
example,
That's
yeah.
not technically in the district, but many of its students come from the district.
Certainly, yeah.
Its teachers and its faculty come from the district.
Mm-hmm.
So it's exciting. You know, we've got 3 hospitals in the region. Milton Hospital, Quincy will be included in that soon.
Right.
Plymouth Hospital, which is also part of the Deaconess, Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center.
Right.
And then you've got South Shore Hospital, which is really affiliated with Mass General.
Right.
In the middle.
Yeah.
And healthcare is, I think, one of the driving economic forces on the South Shore.
For sure.
As these Boston hospitals are migrating to where people are. There's about 700,000 people in the South Shore region, from the coast all the way up into Canton and Randolph. So it's just a nice challenge.
Yeah.
It's similar to what I've been doing, but on a larger scale, with bigger staff. And I think we can, make a difference. If I can make a difference on the region, similar to what I was able to do, what we were able to do in Quincy, I'd be thrilled with it because we have to grow.
What are some of the major challenges that you see facing businesses in the
Growth
South Shore?
is a
yeah.
challenge. Workforce is a challenge,
Okay.
which is really almost universal. Is getting the qualified staffers and teammates and employees that are needed in these industries on the South Shore.
Specific areas, Jim? Specific
Healthcare,
industries?
the big one.
Healthcare is the big one.
Healthcare is the
Okay.
big one, and it's a funny dynamic, when we've got all these great universities in Boston and on the South Shore, and when you graduate from one of these great universities or colleges, your number one desire is to stay in the city, for the most part.
Okay.
I want to stay in the city. I want to still. it's exciting. I'm young. I want to do things. I want to go to restaurants. I want to go to bars.
And they become it's their home. They become accustomed to it.
And I
right?
want to have a close commute
Yeah,
to work.
yeah.
So the challenge for us is getting those people, and as they get a little bit older, but are still considered young professionals, get them to come to the South Shore and find not just their place to live, but a place to work and a place to have fun.
Yes.
And I think that's what Quincy has done over the last decade is, become a place where you can live and you can work and you can go out to eat at night.
Right.
And feel like you're in an urban environment,
Yes,
or you have
yeah.
choices. It doesn't have to be an urban environment, but
Well-
you have choices. And it combines history with, the past and the future. And the South Shore is, the only place, I think the only place, at least the only place in the county, in the region that came before Quincy was Plymouth. And they're the bookends of the
Yeah,
region.
of course, Quincy has the benefit of being close to Boston on the Red Line.
Close.
So there is that.
Absolutely, but we do
what about,
have-
like Rockland,
But we do have the Teague runs down to Plymouth and Kingston.
Yeah.
The commuter
On the
rail.
commuter
We've
rail,
got the
yeah.
boat in Hingham,
True,
which is a really solid source of transportation.
Mm-hmm.
So the option, I guess, is to bring people south and to create a community. So if they travel if they still have to travel into Boston, make sure that that's doable. So
Right,
one of the
right.
early things that we're working on is bringing the general manager of the MBTA, Phil Eng,
Yep.
to a South Shore Chamber of Commerce breakfast
Okay.
to speak about the transportation
Certainly.
and how he intends to turn the T around and get it back to a really, truly functioning mass transit authority.
Yeah, well, there's been massive improvements already.
There have
Sure,
been,
yeah.
and that's you know,
there's more to
and
go.
he's done a great job of that,
Yeah.
but the message still has to get out.
Yeah.
What he's done and what there is to do, and I think one of the key sources of mode of transportation that is underutilized in the South Shore is water.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have a boat in Hingham. We will have a full-scale boat in Quincy.
Looks that way,
Boats in
yeah.
Quincy. And there are places all along between Plymouth and Quincy where you can
Hop on anywhere,
theoretically
right?
at least add a boat. You know, the cost is in obviously in the ship.
Yeah.
You know, the transportation, but you're not spending money upgrading the water because it exists.
Right.
You know, it's got to work, but the population can dictate it. It is, and it's a way people enjoy traveling. And when you go to coastal communities in Seattle and Vancouver, I mean, it's boat
Oh, it's
travel.
routine.
It's routine,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and it can probably, you can avoid some of the slowdowns you get with an old track system, and having to sort of go in and out and make sure that the lines run. So, I mean, people need to get to work in a reasonable amount of time.
Right.
That's one thing that COVID kind of showed people is the time they spend commuting is time lost with their family.
Yes.
Time lost at work. But they're all going back to work, and we want them to go back to work. So, but I'm excited too. We've got a great group of businesses, and there's so much opportunity. I'm not constricted by geography like kind of I was in Quincy.
Okay.
I mean, where Quincy Chamber was 90% Quincy.
Certainly, yeah.
And we did get some business from outside, but I wasn't recruiting outside of Quincy. Now
Sure, I
can
know
recruit.
some Milton businesses to
Yeah,
become
and we had a
active.
partnership with them. I mean,
Yeah.
the partnership model is great because for smaller businesses that really aren't regional, that might be a good fit for them. So Braintree, Weymouth, Marshfield. For those businesses that need regional support, like hospitals, like healthcare institutions, like manufacturers, I think we can play a role, and I'm excited about it because it's different. Instead of dealing with, one sort of elected body and one person, which is Mayor Koch, who was great to us in Quincy and great to the chamber, now I get to work with 25 different.
Boards of selectmen,
Boards of
town
selectmen.
managers,
Be careful what you wish for, because that's a challenge.
Right.
We only have 3 mayors in the region: Mayor Koch, Mayor Joyce, and Mayor Headland. Everyone else is elected by the board and selectmen and town meeting. And it's a tough model, but we're going to make it work. The one thing that I see that's disturbing to me is that there are, I think, a half dozen overrides planned in the spring this year in the towns of the South Shore because they're not generating enough revenue to pay for their services. And part of that is because there's a reluctance on the part of the town sometimes to accept commercial businesses.
I see.
Because of, and housing, there's
I was going to bring up the cost of housing and how much of a factor that plays.
it's a challenge.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. It's been a challenge.
Yeah.
Quincy's addressed it tremendously. If we can get some of that going south, some more of that going south, and some. Weymouth has grown. Pembroke is adding housing. Plymouth has added tens of thousands
Is that right?
of houses, mostly houses because they've got the land down there.
Yeah.
But I think a mixture of multifamily and single family is the right model. It just depends on what the town wants. So if you build it, I think they will come. If you create it, people will come,
Yeah.
and then you got to find places for them to live that is affordable and close enough to where they're working. So what's fun for me is just sort of rediscovering the South Shore. I mean, I've been here my whole life.
sure,
but
yeah.
when you spend so much of your time in one community, you just don't get out. And when you do go south, you often go into the Cape. And
You
there's
just cruise right
things
through,
to
right?
do at every single exit,
Yeah.
and places to go, and businesses, all up and down the South Shore. And I'm discovering them, and I want to bring that message to the masses.
So what do you think needs to come first in terms of growth? Does it need to be housing first and then industry, or industry
Both.
first?
I think it's both. The jobs have to be there, and the housing has to sort of meet the needs.
Okay.
And they don't have to necessarily be in the same place,
Right.
because you can be outside the district in Halifax or in Bridgewater And if you're working in Hanson, if your business is in Hanson or if it's in Hanover, you can get there in 20 minutes.
Oh, sure.
Maybe a half hour.
Okay.
And it's a reasonable commute. And I think people understand that they're not going to be lucky like I was and be 5 minutes from
I was
work.
going to say, your commute has changed a lot. Yeah.
But it isn't that bad. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm 15 minutes from
Well, you have
work.
the reverse commute.
I got the
so,
reverse
yeah.
commute, as would anyone else that lives on the South Shore if
Right.
they're working in this. That's the beauty of
That's
it.
true.
If you're
Yeah.
looking at places to locate, and we're looking to get businesses to locate as well as families to
Right.
locate and people.
Yes.
That reverse commute is a godsend, and it really does work.
Yeah.
I think the model on a regional chamber is you want to create an environment where people can live and work and recreate.
So do
know.
you see like the rebirth of the industrial park coming back? or-
I don't think it's a rebirth, but filling those industrial parks.
see.
There's
Okay.
quite a few of them on the South Shore.
Is that
So
right?
you're not going to have a 15-story or a 10-story building on the South Shore, but you go out because you can
Yep.
horizontally rather than vertically, and they're usually in pockets where they're all accepted. They're
Mm-hmm.
not one-offs mainly in people's backyards or next to a subdivision,
Right,
a
right,
home
right.
subdivision.
Okay.
So there's plenty of land. It's how you use it, and to me, it's convincing people that the mix of land, maybe not as dramatic as we've seen in Quincy,
Yeah.
but whatever fits the community, but the mix of commercial and residential is the key, because that way the businesses and the homeowners share the tax burden, and you're not going back to the voters every year
Right.
to fund your school system. And if those systems, school systems, public safety are not funded, people won't stay.
Yeah. But that's quality of life issue, right?
That's
Yeah.
what it comes down to. So it all fits together.
Yeah.
And again, that's one of the reasons I love this business is because it combines the business with the political. Politicians generally focus on the political. Business people focus on the business.
Yep.
And I'm in the middle trying to get them to meet
Right.
halfway or figure out how to bring them together to provide solutions to both sides.
Yeah. So does that mean maybe changes in zoning regulations?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, okay.
Absolutely. And I think in many ways it's publicity encouragement. Like, I've been there for 3 months. I've seen more in 3 months than I've probably seen in the last 20 years
Really?
as far as new and interesting places, because I am out there now
Yeah.
in the region.
What's kind of surprised you the most, Tim?
Well, how many business sort of areas there are. I go to Rockland every day. Rockland's right off of 228. You go left, you're in Norwell, and then there's Assinippie Park. You go right, you're in Rockland. You go down the street half a mile, you're in Hingham.
Okay.
And you turn right, you're in Weymouth. And there's all these businesses and these business communities. Again, small, not quite Crown Colony type office
Certainly.
parks, but smaller versions of those, which fit into the community.
Right.
A lot of
Because these are
businesses.
towns of what, 40,000 people, right?
Exactly,
Yeah. okay.
exactly. And it all adds up. And if you look at it sort of as one region, it makes sense. Sometimes you look at it as each individual town. There's more residential in one town, say in Duxbury and in Situate, than there is in Marshfield. Marshfield has more business,
They have
commercial
139
space.
that runs right through it, right?
Exactly,
Yeah, okay.
exactly. So and again, some of that is driven by whether or not the elected body is open
Yes.
to business. And that's part of my job, is to meet with the elected officials, state reps, local officials, state leaders, and find out, what's possible.
Sure.
Not try to force something that's not possible.
Yep,
I
yep.
mean, this Communities Act
a balancing act, right?
is
Yeah.
a tough sell in
Yeah.
some of these communities, and I understand why. That's why people move down there. They don't want what we have here in Quincy.
They don't want a State Street in their
They
backyard.
don't. Yeah, they don't want
Yeah.
too much
Right.
of what we have, but they need some of it, and that's where hopefully I can come in and our team can come in, is convince them what they should get and how that mix has to stay mixed. I mean, it's the old argument about the South Shore Plaza. It's it was a mainstay. It was the place to go when I was growing up, when you were growing up, it was the place to shop.
Oh, it was an outdoor mall at that point.
I remember that. I remember. We're dating ourselves.
I know.
We remember that.
I don't care.
But even so, it was the place to go to shop and to socialize.
For sure.
And it's lost a little of that.
Well, malls in general, right, have.
And then you have a place like Derby Street.
Yeah.
And now
Just
Hanover
thriving.
Crossing,
Yeah.
which has replaced the old Hanover Mall.
Right.
You have to meet people where they are and give them what they're looking for. And one of the things that the mayor of Braintree is now trying to do is add housing to that mix so that you can sort of build a community there to give the owners of the mall maybe an incentive to upgrade.
Or at least
Or
stay.
to modernize, or
Yeah.
to stay, like
Yeah.
you said. And the businesses will come and go depending on whether the shoppers are there.
Right.
And we're seeing a lot of business exodus from the South Shore
For
Plaza.
sure, yeah.
So, I mean, it reminds me a lot of what Quincy was in the 80s. I mean, even in the 80s, it was still Shoppers Town.
Oh, yeah.
For most of us,
Yep.
for those of us who had businesses.
Yeah, the Bargain Center was still there in the 80s.
Bargain
yeah.
Center was there, Sawyer's was still there,
Yep.
Sears was still there.
Yep.
Once it started to die or depopulate,
Yeah.
it just snowballed.
Yeah.
And by the end of the 80s, and I was still in business in the early 90s,
Yeah.
it became really kind of a ghost
Yeah,
town.
it did.
And now it's come back through the efforts of the mayor. See, I just dropped it. You told me about, you jinxed me, and now mine's out.
That's okay, because we're out of time.
All right, perfect. That was
That's like the
perfect.
cane coming
That was
out.
the mic drop of all time.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Thanks, Tim.
Apologize.
Forecast for you for the rest of the day today. We've got clouds and warm temperatures in the mid-60s. Some rain moves in tonight, maybe even a rumble of thunder. Tomorrow it'll be cooler. It'll be sunshine later in the day. Temperatures in the lower 50s, even cooler on Wednesday, mid-40s. Back up to 60 degrees with the showers on Thursday. Thanks again to Tim Cahill for joining us from the South Shore Chamber.
Thank you, Joe. I got my mic back. I appreciate
We
it.
can hear you
I'll
again.
keep it safe next time.
Okay. Thanks to our crew. Thank you for watching. Friday here in the show, Rick Doan stops by from Interfaith Social Services. Meantime, check our website, qatv.org. All of our programs are there. There's news and information, video on demand, live streaming, and much more. For all of us here at QATV, I'm Joe Catalano. Have a great week.